looked around and wondered how some of the most foolish, arrogant, or unkind people end up in positions of power? How do those with no wisdom, no compassion, and no clear understanding lead entire nations, companies, or even communities? It makes your heart heavy when you see people who lie, manipulate, or pretend rise to the top, while those who are honest, kind, and truthful are left behind, unnoticed. But there's a reason behind it all. Life doesn't always reward the most righteous in the way we expect. Sometimes Allah allows power to fall into the hands of fools, not because they are worthy, but because this world is a test, and power itself is part of that test. When foolish people get authority, their actions expose their hearts, and the truth of their character becomes clear for all to see. It might frustrate you, make you question the fairness of it all, but behind that confusion is a deep, spiritual wisdom that many miss. In today's world, it is very common to see people who speak loudly, walk boldly, and act confidently, being treated like they are the best leaders, even when they may not have the wisdom or understanding to lead. Many times, loudness is seen as a sign of strength, power, and intelligence, but in reality, it is often just a cover for something deeper: fear, insecurity, or lack of knowledge. People who speak too much and too fast usually don't leave space to think clearly. They rush into decisions, they speak before understanding the full situation, and they often want to dominate every conversation. Unfortunately, this behavior can look attractive to others. People naturally follow those who sound sure of themselves. The world teaches us that being quiet means you are weak, that staying calm means you don't know anything. But this is far from the truth. Some of the wisest people in life are those who listen more than they talk. They think before they act, and they understand the weight of their words. But because they are calm and quiet, they are often ignored. This is the painful reality. True wisdom is soft and slow, and in a noisy world, it is easy to miss. Many people have been fooled by loud voices that promised change but brought confusion. The person who yells the loudest is not always right, but their voice is so strong that it drowns out the truth. It is like being in a room full of shouting, where even the most beautiful message is lost in the noise. This is how many foolish people rise to power, not through hard work or wisdom, but simply by being the loudest in the room. They attract attention, and because many people do not take the time to think deeply, they begin to follow. This is dangerous because power without wisdom can cause great harm. But still, it happens because people forget to ask important questions. They don't ask, is this person speaking truth, or do they really care about others? They only see someone who looks confident and sounds strong, and that becomes enough. True leadership is not about volume, it is about value. Real leaders are those who speak when it matters, who guide without shouting, who lift others up instead of putting them down. But many of them are pushed to the side because they do not make noise. They do not force themselves into the spotlight. They are too focused on doing the right thing. In a world that rewards noise, the quiet ones are forgotten. But make no mistake, quiet does not mean weak. Calm does not mean small. And silence does not mean you have nothing to offer. Sometimes the strongest hearts beat quietly. Sometimes the most powerful minds speak gently. But when the world is too loud, people miss this truth. So the loud, the bold, and the empty rise to the top, while the sincere ones watch from the shadows. If you ever feel like your voice is not heard because you are not loud enough, do not change who you are. Do not trade your wisdom for noise. Do not think you have to shout to matter. Just know that in the eyes of Allah, your calm strength is never wasted. When Allah sees you choosing patience over pride, thought over reaction, truth over noise, that is real success. Stay firm in your path, even if the world does not see you. Let the foolish fight for loud titles and empty crowns. You walk with grace, you speak with truth, and you rise not through volume, but through purpose. And in the end, it is not who shouted the loudest who wins, but who stayed true when no one was listening. Let others confuse noise for strength. You continue your journey with dignity, because when Allah decides to raise someone high, no noise in the world can stop it. Stay silent when needed, speak when it matters, and always trust that your voice, even when quiet, carries more weight than all the shouting in the world when it comes from a place of truth and sincerity. We live in a world that has become obsessed with how things look rather than what they truly are. People are judged by their clothes, their social media profiles, their body language, and their charm, instead of their character, honesty, or wisdom. This is one of the main reasons why foolish people often rise to power. They understand how to appear important even when they lack real strength inside. They polish their image, they walk with fake confidence, and they speak with carefully practiced words. People around them get impressed by the surface, but they forget to look underneath. It's like being drawn to a shiny box, only to find it empty when opened. That's how many are fooled. A person who appears strong on the outside might be full of confusion, pride, and selfishness on the inside. But the world doesn't always see that. It only sees the surface. The truth is, appearances can be very misleading. Someone who dresses well and smiles often might not care about anyone but themselves. Someone who talks in a charming way might only be playing a role to gain attention or power. And yet many people are drawn to these masks. They follow what they see instead of what is real. This has led to a culture where those who care more about how they look than who they are end up in leadership roles. But appearance fades. Sooner or later, truth always reveals itself. A person with no depth can only pretend for so long before people begin to feel the emptiness behind the charm. It's easy to impress people for a short time with fancy clothes, big words, or a confident walk. But real leadership is about heart, not image. It's about patience, honesty, and responsibility. Those things can't be faked. The most dangerous part is that when people in power are chosen based on their looks or outer image, decisions are made without wisdom. Actions are taken for show instead of for real change. And innocent people suffer under the weight of foolish leadership. That's why we must be careful about who we admire, who we follow, and who we allow to lead. We must learn to look beyond the surface. A person who seems quiet might be carrying mountains of wisdom. A person who doesn't speak much might have the cleanest intentions. The real beauty is in depth, the kind that doesn't fade, doesn't pretend, and doesn't need to be loud. And the most meaningful leaders are not always the most visible one. They may not post daily selfies or wear expensive brands, but they are busy working for others, listening more than talking, and living with humility. This world has tricked many into thinking that value comes from how bright you shine in front of others. But the truth is, the most valuable people are those who shine in their character, even when no one is watching. If you ever feel like you are being overlooked because you're not flashy or popular, don't let that change you. If you are someone who speaks truth, respects others, and does what's right even when it's hard, then you are already a true leader in the eyes of others. Let the world fall for appearances. You stay focused on your soul, because what Allah sees in you matters far more than what the world sees. And remember, beauty fades, charm disappears, and power ends. But depth, truth, and sincerity live on. That is what makes someone powerful. That is what makes someone respected by the hearts of others. The world may not always reward depth right away, but the reward from Allah is never missed. So, protect your heart from seeking attention, protect your soul from trying to fit in with shallow leaders, and trust that your inner strength, your kindness, and your clean heart will always take you farther than any appearance ever could. When you carry truth in your soul, you never need to perform for the world. Your light will speak for itself, and the right people will recognize it. Let them chase the spotlight. You walk with Allah, and that is in. One of the deepest reasons foolish people end up in power is because most people are afraid of being alone. They fear standing apart. They fear becoming the one voice against the crowd. And in that fear, they often choose silence when they should speak, or agreement when they know something is wrong. When someone with power, even if they are foolish or unjust, begins to speak confidently, act boldly, and take control, many people around them hesitate to resist, not because they don't see the wrong, but because they don't want to stand alone. They don't want to become the target. They fear being mocked, misunderstood, or pushed aside. So they stay quiet, they nod, they pretend. And in doing so, they help the foolish person rise higher. Power is rarely taken with truth alone. Often it is taken with fear, fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of isolation, and that fear becomes a tool in the hands of the unwise. They use it to keep others silent. They use it to build their image stronger, and the more people remain silent, the more powerful the wrong leader becomes. It becomes a cycle where good people step back, and the loud, the arrogant, the empty-hearted step forward. But it doesn't have to be this way. There is a special strength in standing alone for what is right. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels heavy. But standing alone with the truth is better than joining a crowd in wrong. If more people had the courage to say no, to walk away, to challenge what is clearly wrong, then foolish people would not rise so easily. But that courage takes faith. It takes deep trust that even if the world turns against you, Allah is with you. And when Allah is with you, you are never truly alone. The world makes us believe that being accepted by people is the goal, but the real goal is being accepted by Allah. When you remember that, fear begins to lose its grip. You start to speak with strength, even if your voice shakes. You start to act with purpose, even if others laugh. And in that courage, you stop empowering those who use fear as a weapon. Every time you choose to stay silent in front of injustice, you give strength to the wrong. But every time you speak truth, no matter how small your voice, you plant a seed of change. You show others that they don't have to be afraid, that they too can rise, that they too can walk with dignity. The greatest change in history never started with big crowds. It started with one heart that refused to follow the wrong path. One voice that said, "This is not right." You may be that voice. You may be that heart. Don't wait for the world to agree with you before you do what is right. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone is leading with pride, harming others, and feeding their ego, then don't pretend to support them just to fit in. Step back, speak up, and trust that your silence in the face of falsehood is not wisdom. It is fear, and fear cannot build a better world. If you want to be a true leader, be brave enough to stand alone when no one else does. Not with hate, not with arrogance, but with quiet strength, with faith, with integrity, because power gained through fear never lasts. And those who build their thrones on silence and fear will one day fall. But those who walk with truth, even when alone, will always be remembered in the heavens. They are the ones Allah loves most. They are the ones who leave a legacy, not of noise, but of courage. So if you ever feel alone because you chose to do the right thing, remember, Allah sees you, Allah is proud of you, and your courage, even if no one claps for it now, is worth more than all the fake power in this world. Keep walking in truth, even when it hurts, and know that sometimes being alone is a sign that you're walking the path most people are too afraid to take. One of the biggest tricks of this world is how easily charm can replace real character in the eyes of people. A charming person can smile at the right time, speak with smooth words, and capture attention wherever they go. Their presence feels magnetic, their voice feels sweet, and their style feels impressive. But deep down, charm alone means nothing if it is not built on truth, humility, and responsibility. Many foolish people gain power simply because they are charming. They know how to win the room, how to impress a crowd, and how to make people feel good, even when they are not saying anything meaningful. They entertain, they distract, they make others laugh or feel inspired for a moment. But once that moment passes, there is no real guidance, no real depth, and no real care in their hearts. Their charm is like a beautiful mask, hiding a hollow soul, and the world, being so thirsty for joy and relief, often chooses that charm over character. But the problem is, charm doesn't last when life becomes serious. When real decisions need to be made, when people are suffering, when the truth becomes difficult, charm fades, and the truth begins to show. That's when the world sees the damage done by following someone who only looked good but never truly was. A person with real character may not speak beautifully. They may not know how to impress people with their style or their speech, but they are sincere. They stand firm in what is right. They make choices based on honesty, not popularity, and they think about others, not just themselves. These are the people who make quiet but lasting change. They are not always celebrated. They are not always followed by millions, but they are trusted by the sincere and loved by Allah. When charm is used with character, it becomes powerful. But when charm is used to cover up selfishness, pride, or ignorance, it becomes dangerous. That's why foolish people who rise through charm alone often bring harm, because their main focus is how they appear, not what they truly are. They care more about impressing people than helping them. They care more about being praised than doing the right thing. And once they reach power, they use it not to serve, but to shine. And in doing so, they leave behind broken promises, disappointed hearts, and confused followers. The saddest part is that many people know deep down that these leaders lack character, but they continue to follow because charm is addictive. It gives a moment of hope, a moment of escape, and a moment of happiness. But real life needs more than moments. It needs truth. It needs trust. It needs leaders with hearts, not just smiles. You must train your heart to look past the surface. Don't be fooled by beautiful words that lack meaning. Don't trust someone just because they speak well or dress nicely. Ask yourself, do they live with honesty? Do they treat others with respect? Do they admit their mistakes? Do they care for those who cannot give them anything back? That is where character shows. And if the answer is no, then no amount of charm can make them worthy of trust. If you are someone who doesn't know how to impress people easily, but you try your best to be honest, kind, and faithful, then you are already far ahead. Do not envy those who rise fast through charm. Many of them fall just as quickly. Stay firm in your truth. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Let your life be the proof of your sincerity. And let your connection with Allah be the reason you keep moving forward, even if others don't notice you. Because real character is not built in the spotlight. It's built in private, in silence, and in moments when no one is watching. And Allah sees those moments. Allah values them. Allah raises people based on them. So while others chase charm to win the world, you keep building your character to please your Lord. And when the world is looking for something real, they will find you. Not because you tried to impress them, but because your truth stood the test of time. One of the most confusing things in life is when people who don't know much, who act without thinking, and who care only about their own voice, begin to lead others with confidence. It leaves many wondering how someone with so little wisdom can stand so tall, speak so boldly, and convince so many people to follow them. The truth is, foolishness often wears the mask of confidence. A person who knows very little might still speak like they know everything. They answer questions quickly, even if they don't understand the topic. They act without hesitation, even if their actions bring harm. And they speak over others, especially those who have more knowledge and more experience. This kind of confidence is not real strength. It is built on ego and ignorance. But the world sees it differently. In a world where speed, sound, and strength are praised, hesitation and reflection are mistaken for weakness. So when a wise person speaks slowly, admits they don't know everything, and takes time to think carefully, They are often overlooked. People think they are unsure. People think they are not fit to lead. But in truth, that carefulness is a sign of wisdom. The more a person knows, the more they realize how much they still have to learn. True knowledge makes a person humble, but foolishness, on the other hand, often makes people overconfident. They feel like they know everything, and they are not afraid to speak even when they are wrong. This creates a strange situation where those who know less rise faster, while those who know more stay behind. Not because they are incapable, but because they are careful, and in that gap the world is misled. Loud voices take the lead, while wise hearts remain in the background. People are drawn to those who sound sure of themselves, even if what they say has no real meaning. That is how foolish people end up in power. They replace truth with boldness. They replace knowledge with attitude, and they act so confident that people stop questioning them. Confidence is a beautiful thing when it is guided by truth. But confidence without wisdom is like a speeding car with no brakes. It looks powerful, but it's only one mistake away from disaster. And those who follow such people often pay the price. If you are someone who sometimes doubts yourself, who thinks deeply before speaking, who asks questions instead of pretending to know it all, then you are not weak. You are wise. You are careful, and you are strong in a way that truly matters. The world may not notice your strength right away, but Allah does. Allah loves those who are humble, those who reflect, and those who carry knowledge with responsibility. Never be ashamed of thinking before speaking. Never feel small because you admit you don't know everything. That is the sign of someone who can truly grow. And one day, your wisdom will shine brighter than the fake confidence of those who only knew how to act strong. The sad truth is that many people follow the loudest voice, not the truest one. They are attracted to bold words, not sincere ones. But when life gets hard, when real answers are needed, and when truth matters most, they begin to see the difference. The ones who once seemed strong fall apart, and the ones who stood quietly with wisdom become the ones people turn to. So be patient. Let others run ahead if they must, but walk your path with purpose. Speak when it matters, and build your knowledge slowly and sincerely, because true confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from knowing, and when your strength comes from truth, nothing can shake it. Be the kind of person who listens more, learns deeply, and speaks with meaning. Don't compete with the noise of the world. Let your silence carry weight. Let your calm bring peace, and let your confidence be rooted in your connection with Allah. Because when you walk with truth, you don't need to shout to be heard. Your sincerity, your wisdom, and your quiet strength will speak louder than anything else. And that is the kind of power the world truly needs. So if you've seen these signs in your life, know this: Allah is watching over you, guiding you, and preparing you for something greater than what your eyes can see right now. You were not made to blend in. You were made to rise, to inspire, and to carry light in a world full of darkness. Being chosen doesn't mean life will be easy. It means Allah trusts you with a mission that many others could not handle. So walk with your head high, carry your pain like a crown, and never forget that every silent tear, every sleepless night, and every lonely prayer is seen by Allah. You are not forgotten, you are not alone, and your story is far from over.